The early morning air was quiet over the hills of Gath-Hepher. Birds stirred in the olive trees. Faint sheep bells rang in the distance. But in Jonah's heart, there was no peace. He had just heard the voice of the Lord. "Arise, Jonah," the voice had said, strong and unmistakable. "Go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry against it, for their wickedness has come up before me." Jonah sat still, his eyes staring into the dust of his floor. His heart pounded. Nineveh? No, it couldn't be. Nineveh was the heart of Assyria, the enemies of Israel, a brutal city known for violence, idol worship, and oppression. To preach repentance there? To walk into that pit of lions and tell them to change? He couldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. He stood up quickly, grabbed his robe and scroll, and stepped into the morning sun. But instead of turning east toward Nineveh, Jonah turned west, toward the sea. If he could run far enough, maybe God would leave him alone. Maybe this calling would pass like a storm in the night. He arrived in Joppa by late afternoon. The harbor bustled with sailors and merchants. Jonah moved through the crowd with urgency. The smell of fish, salt, and sweat filled the air. There it was, a ship bound for Tarshish, the farthest place west he could find, as far from Nineveh as the earth would allow. He paid the fare, climbed aboard, and didn't look back. Down in the ship's lower deck, Jonah found a corner, curled into his cloak, and tried to sleep, but he couldn't escape the weight pressing on his chest. It was more than fear. It was the guilt of running from the one who had called him. Still, sleep found him. Up above, the sky turned black. Without warning, a violent wind struck the sea. The ship groaned and creaked as waves pounded its sides. Sailors shouted, grabbing ropes, throwing cargo overboard. Lightning flashed. The sea roared. Water poured onto the deck. The captain, soaked and frantic, ran below. He found Jonah asleep. "What are you doing, sleeper? Get up. Call on your God. Maybe he will hear us." Jonah staggered to his feet, the rocking ship nearly throwing him into the wall. He knew why the storm had come. He had disobeyed. On deck, the sailors cast lots to discover who was to blame. The lot fell to Jonah. "Who are you?" they demanded. "What have you done?" Jonah looked into their terrified eyes and spoke the truth. "I am a Hebrew. I fear the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the land. I am running from him." The sailors trembled. "What must we do to you to make the sea calm?" Jonah didn't hesitate. "Throw me into the sea." They refused at first. They tried rowing back to land, but the storm grew worse. Waves crashed like mountains around them. Finally, with trembling hands, they lifted Jonah. "Lord, forgive us," they cried, "for we do this not in anger, but in fear of you." And they threw him into the deep. The moment Jonah's body hit the water, the sea went still. Winds stopped. Waves fell flat. The ship rocked gently. The sailors stared in awe. Then they fell on their knees and worshipped the God of heaven. But Jonah sank down into the cold dark, deeper and deeper. His limbs grew heavy. His breath fled. Seaweed wrapped around his head. His chest ached. And then, just before death could take him, something massive moved beneath the water. A shadow, a creature. With a sudden rush, he was swallowed whole. Inside the belly of the fish, Jonah lay in utter darkness. And finally, he prayed. The belly of the great fish was a world unlike anything Jonah had ever known. Darkness surrounded him like a tomb. The air was heavy and damp. The walls pulsed around him with every movement of the creature. He lay curled in its stomach, pressed between folds of flesh. As the deep sea churned far above, he could hear the distant echoes of the ocean, groans, rumblings, and mysterious sounds from below. Water dripped. Acid burned faintly in the air. His body ached from the pressure. His beard and hair were tangled with seaweed. His skin was cold. Time disappeared. At first, Jonah said nothing. He simply breathed and stared into the blackness, shocked and broken. But slowly, something began to rise inside him. A quiet awareness. He was still alive, in the depths of the sea, inside a creature no man could imagine. Jonah still breathed, and if he breathed, then God had not abandoned him. He closed his eyes and whispered, his voice hoarse and trembling. "I called out to the Lord from my distress." His prayer came like a river, honest, broken, beautiful. "Out of the belly of the grave I cried, and you heard my voice. You cast me into the deep, into the heart of the seas, and the floods surrounded me. All your waves and billows passed over me. I said, I am driven away from your sight, yet I will look again toward your holy temple." Tears mixed with the salt on his face. His prayer was not just words, it was repentance. For the first time since he fled, he truly surrendered. He thought about the people of Nineveh. He thought about their evil, yes, but also their blindness. They didn't know the God he knew. They had no hope, no light, and yet, Jonah had tried to run from giving them that chance. I went down to the roots of the mountains, he prayed. The earth with its bars closed in upon me forever. Yet you brought up my life from the pit, O Lord my God. He pressed his forehead against the fleshy wall of the fish. When my life was fainting away, I remembered the Lord. My prayer came to you, into your holy temple. He remembered the Psalms of David. He remembered the stories of Moses, of Abraham, of the God who hears, the God who sees. He remembered that mercy was the heart of God's power. And then he said the words that broke the heavens open. Salvation belongs to the Lord. At that moment, in the deepest place on earth, Jonah made peace with his calling. He stopped fighting. He stopped hiding. He was God's, wherever that would lead him. Then it happened. The great fish stirred. A sudden shift. A change in pressure. It began to swim upward, fast and strong. Jonah braced himself, gripping the soft tissue around him as the fish surged toward the surface. Then, without warning, the creature opened its mouth, and with a violent heave, it vomited Jonah out. Jonah hit the sand hard, coughing, drenched in slime and seawater. He gasped for air as the sun burned into his eyes. The shore was empty. Waves rolled behind him. His body trembled, not from fear, but from awe. He was alive, truly alive. His clothes clung to him. His skin was pale, but inside his heart, something new burned. A fire, a surrender. And then God's voice came again, clear, firm, loving. Arise, Jonah, go to Nineveh, that great city, and proclaim to it the message that I tell you. This time Jonah did not run. He stood slowly, wiped his face and looked east, toward Nineveh. He began to walk.